Hey there, what's happening? This is Eric
Victoria.
and we are coming at you live from our home office in beautiful Marietta, Georgia. We wanted to take a moment to shoot this quick live video. We want to discuss the topic this evening of always look for opportunities.
Always.
Look for opportunities everywhere, everywhere.
If you look, you'll find.
So I want to start with a little quote that came to me. It says, sometimes if the door that closes behind you hits you on the backside, it will push you into the future that you really deserve.
Ooh, I like that.
You know, sometimes we can get
Futuristic. Thinking forward.
sometimes we can get stuck in a situation that's really not meant for us. We can get
Not going anywhere.
We can get stuck in a job,
Stuck in the mud.
sometimes stuck in a relationship, sometimes stuck in a situation where you're just stuck, you know. And sometimes when you get too set in your ways, you get stuck in a certain mode, certain habits, and you're just stuck there. And it's like you don't have. It's like you have inertia. You need another force to kind of move you out of there. And sometimes that's maybe an external force, something that comes and pushes you out.
And I experienced it. A lot of you out there probably experienced it too, where you stayed in a job longer than you should have. And then when you finally do get pushed out the door, not by your own choice, then you're like, what happened? Well, if you had not been fired or laid off, or an acquisition or merger hadn't taken place, you would still be stuck back there in the mud where you were before. But because of unforeseen circumstances, now you're in a position where it may be uncomfortable and it may not have been the way you wanted to go out. But if you hadn't been pushed out that door, you would never have thought forward and thought in terms of what else can I do? Where should I go from this? What other industry? What other business? What should I do? And some of you stayed in relationships longer than you should have. And I don't mean marriage, because I believe marriage is forever. But I'm talking about in dating relationships. Those relationships were never going to be a solid relationship or even end up in marriage. You were just bidding your time because you were too lazy, or you were stuck in a situation out of convenience because you didn't want to be alone. It's better to be alone than be with the wrong person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that happens is
And there's nothing wrong with being alone.
sometimes you can grow. Sometimes a particular situation might be right for a season.
That's right.
And you can actually grow out of that situation.
That's right.
You can get to the point where, let's say you're in the same job for 10 years, right?
I did that for years, and I should have been gone from that job a long time ago.
My God. It's like at a point where you're just doing a job in your sleep. And, unfortunately, in that type of situation, you're growing to a certain extent, but in order to really grow, you need to move out of that environment.
And a lot of times, the best thing that happened to you is that they laid you off. I can't tell you how many testimonies I've heard of people, once they were laid off, they said, you know what, I really hated that place.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, you didn't look at it. You're like, I hated it, and you complained about it. But then when you finally got laid off, you were like, oh, no, you needed to be laid off. Now, God can really do what he needs to in your life and open doors and use your talents and your gifts. I mean, oh my gosh, sometimes that's the biggest blessing you probably could have had. I can't tell you how many people have said, if I hadn't been pushed out that door, I would not be wealthy and wouldn't be where I'm at now. That was the best. God did you a favor. He shoved you out.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And so, so when
because you wouldn't move on your own.
So when those type of situations happen, of course, our first reaction is, like, as Victoria said,
you're a little uncomfortable.
Woe is me. Why did this happen to me? And you just kind of go into a self-pity type of situation.
But you start to think outside the box.
Well, you should. You should.
You should.
You should think outside the box, and you should start to look for what opportunities await me.
That's right.
Was that really the right job for me in the first place? Was that really the right situation for me?
Was that my calling? Are my talents being used there? And you probably weren't making what you wanted to make anyway. So here you are in a situation, you weren't making what you wanted to make. You work with people that you didn't really like, and you hated the job. So now you have an opportunity, because you had to be pushed out, to finally expand. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the dog. The story of the guy that's jogging, and every day he goes by and sees this dog just going woo, 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 and the owner's standing there with this dog, and the dog, every time he runs by the dog every day, the dog is howling and screaming. And so one day he couldn't take it anymore, and he looked at the owner. He stopped. He looked at the owner and said, "What's the deal with the dog?" And the owner looks at him and says, "Well, the dog is sitting on a nail."
He's been sitting on it for a long time.
He's sitting on that nail for a long time, and and that's how a lot of people are. A lot of people are sitting on that nail, taking the pain to the point where the pain becomes the norm.
They don't even know they're in pain.
Yeah,
they're totally numb to it.
You become numb to it. You just don't recognize
Stay
it.
on a job as long as I did for years, and I hated that job. I hated the job as much that last day as I did that first day. But what I had done is at the beginning of that job, the first several years, I made a ton of money. And I justify it by saying, well, I hate it. I don't like the people I work with, but I'm making money. And when the money wasn't where it was, and I still hated it, I was almost relieved when I was no longer there. I was like, they almost did me a favor, because it took me to another industry, and then it opened up doors to pursue my goals in my business the way I should have. So it was a blessing in so many ways. Now, do I regret that I worked there all those years? Absolutely not, because I am extremely good at sales because of that job. And a lot of people don't understand, well, if you're that good at sales, it's because I worked through the pain when I hated the job. So everything you do in life, no regrets, you're going to gain something from it. You take it on to the next level, wherever it is in your business or your job. It was no regrets, but I stayed there too long. And when I got pushed out, praise the Lord, it was the best thing for me.
And then keep in mind, be careful, because sometimes people at a supervisory level, people that have power in the organization over you, will try to make you think that this is the only opportunity that you have.
Yeah, they tried to brainwash me.
They'll try to brainwash you. They try to beat you down.
You can't make it anywhere else but here. As long as you stay here, this is the only place in life you're going to ever make it.
I mean, how many times have we heard that?
Oh my gosh.
So it's important.
Lots of opportunities out there.
It's important to have your self-esteem up to a point where you're always seeking out. You're looking for. You're open to opportunities. Keep yourself open, and when you do find yourself in that situation where you're pushed out of a job, you're pushed out of the current situation. Try to. Of course, there's the initial emotional response, but you want to keep yourself open to opportunities.
Keep your mind, your heart, and your eyes open.
And you want to understand when, one door closes behind you and hits you on the backside, you can end up in a situation that's much, much better for you. You can ultimately end up with the fortune that you actually deserve.
Ooh, I love it.
And so that's our quick message for you this evening. If you like the information we provide and you like additional information from us, just type info in the comments below. Otherwise, this is Eric and Victoria Duncanson saying, hope you're having a great evening. If not, let's make it a great one.
And remember, excellence always prevails when it's backed by action.